Chapter 5. Well, there was something to that Borjigid thing after all. Temujin's dad did win the battle, and we got to go to the victory feast as TJ's special guests. The feast was held in a huge yurt. We sat on rugs and cushions in a spot of honor right next to Temujin and his dad. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. There were lots of people and music and food, if you could call it that. "When did I start chewing this piece of meat?" Sam asked Fred and me between chews. "It was this morning, right?" "I think my dinner is staring at me," said Fred. There was something that looked like an eyeball floating in his dish. "What exactly is this mystery meat?" I asked Temujin. "It's mutton, of course," he replied. Fred wasn't taking any chances. "That's a food, right? Not somebody's name." Sam tried to clear his mouth of the sheepy taste by taking a big swig of his drink. Just as he did, Temujin nodded toward Sam's goblet. "That we call kumis, fermented mare's milk." Kumis sprayed out of Sam's mouth like water from a fire hose, soaking a gang of scary-looking warriors seated nearby. One of them had a nasty scar across his face and creepy, cloudy eyes. I could tell they weren't happy. The youngest warrior in the gang jumped to his feet and glared at Sam. "You die!" he growled. "Teach him a lesson, Tarkutai!" a boy nearby cheered. "Stay out of this, Pumlik," the guy named Tarkutai snarled. Then he mentioned to the creepy-eyed guy who raised Sam in the air with one hand and whipped a dagger with the other. Temujin leaped up and stared at Tarkutai in the eye. "Sam is my guest. He is not to be harmed," Temujin ordered. After a few tense seconds, Tarkutai backed down. "As you wish, my prince," he hissed to TJ. Tarkutai signaled to his goon Creepy Eye, who dropped Sam with a thud. Then he headed back to his seat, followed by his little brother, Pumlik, and Creepy Eye. "Nice guy, in a psycho kind of way," Fred said, after Tarkutai had moved safely out of earshot. "Tarkutai has long been jealous of my family's position," TJ explained. Sam wiped the sweat from his forehead. "And I have long been wanting to find the book and get out of here." "You mean the blue box you were seeking?" Temujin replied. "I finally remember where I saw it." Sam jumped up, hearing the good news. "You do? Where?" he asked. But just as Temujin was about to explain, a girl walked up to us, shaking two dice-like things in her hand. "Hi, Temujin," she said. "Want to play a game of Shagai later? I'll let you win this time." Since ancient Mongolian kids don't have video games, they're into a game called Shagai. It's played with sheep's ankle bones. Man, these people are seriously sheep crazy. Temujin laughed at the girl's offer. "You only win because you cheat," he said. "You wish," she said, and walked off, tossing the sheep ankle dice. "That's Borte, my best friend," Temujin told us. "She can be incredibly annoying." By this time, Sam was about to burst. "The book," he said. "You said you remembered seeing it." "Oh," said Temujin. "I forget where now." It looked like we were headed for a long night in outer Mongolia. Chapter 6. A hush fell over the victory feast as Temujin's father stood up to make a speech. Yasugai raised his goblet in triumph and addressed the large crowd. "Today," he said, "our warriors achieved a great victory in the field of battle, driving the Tartars from our land." The crowd went nuts. When they settled down again, Yasugai continued, "I thank the eternal blue heaven for strengthening our swords, and also my Anda, my blood brother, Togril, for the courage of his troops." Another chieftain stood, and TJ's dad gave him a big hug. The crowd went crazy again. Then Yasugai made another announcement. It is fitting that we mark the end of our struggle with a new beginning, and so I commemorate our victory by declaring that my son and heir, Temujin, and the Princess Borte are engaged to be married. The crowd really went bonkers this time. Fred, Sam, and I could hardly believe our ears. Fred dropped his goblet, and I nearly coughed up my kumis. "What?" Sam cried. "Married?" Fred said. "To a girl? You're our age." TJ looked a little embarrassed, but also a little happy. Meanwhile, Borte was beaming from across the room. Temujin's pops seemed pretty excited, too. All of his pals were busy congratulating him and making toasts. Servants refilled goblets as quickly as the men drank. Fred, Sam, and I were still shocked by the news, so TJ tried to explain. "Our parents arranged it, but the wedding is still years away," then he added, "and only if she quits cheating at Shagai." Fred patted TJ on the back. "You poor guy. You must have really ticked off your folks. Couldn't they just ground you?" Before Temujin could reply, a scream pierced through the chatter. The crowd started rushing this way and that. People were yelling and fumbling around. It was total chaos. "Father!" Temujin shouted. Yasugai was lying on the ground, motionless. His goblet rolled away from his limp hand. Togril, Yasugai's chieftain friend, rushed to Temujin. "Do not look," he said, shielding TJ's eyes from the sight. People in the crowd began to murmur. "Poison," they whispered. Someone in the tent said, "He has been poisoned, but who?" "There," a voice called out. It was Tarkutai, the young warrior who had tried to kill Sam. He was pointing to a servant who was trying to slip out of the yurt. "The servant," Tarkutai said. "He is a Tartar spy." At that, Tarkutai's goons wrestled the guy to the ground. But it was too late for Yasugai. Temujin looked at his dad and then at the servant, his eyes filled with sadness and anger. He ran out of the yurt. Fred, Sam, and I chased after TJ. We finally caught up with him outside near some boulders. When he turned to look at us, his eyes flashed with rage. "They will pay!" Temujin yelled. "I must now become chief in my father's place, and I will not stop until every last Tartar is wiped off the face of the earth." Chapter 7.